Howdy ho, Andrew, aka Kalfear, aka Shadosin here. Welcome to Tales of Neverwinter Nights. As I said last video, we ended with my stories, and at some time in the future I'll do a compilation of them, so you can just watch a video of all of them back to back. But for now we're going to shift our attention on to Drathsin, aka Richard. Richard was a cop in Vancouver, BC, and I lost track with him after that, but I believe he moved to Toronto and became a cop there. But I met him in Neverwinter Nights, and as a fellow Canadian, we had so much fun just tormenting the Americans. The funniest one was, Neverwinter Nights was typing. There was no voice chat. So it wasn't like a modern day MMORPG where you're in Discord channel or you're even in game and they support a voice chat and you're talking to the group. Everything was typing. And so Rich and I were PvPing, and it was turn-based combat. So after you did your turn, you had to wait usually a couple minutes if it was 8 people in the combat before your turn came around. So you're watching what's going on, but you're typing. And the funniest one was him and I, because back in the 90s, a lot of Americans, not all, but a lot of Americans had a really screwed up mindset on what Canada was. So Rich and I were PvPing, and, gets to the end of her turn, and I'm like, type in, "Hey, Drath, did you remember to feed your dog sled?" He's like, "Oh, crap, no. Did you remember to run the extension cord so you have power tonight?" Yeah, I'm good. And we just went on about this as we were actually getting messages going, "Are you guys for real? Like, do you really live in an igloo? Like, do you have a dog sled?" Oh my God, were we laughing? We were laughing so hard. So yeah, Drathsin was a good friend of mine. His characters were Drathsin and Firebade. Firebade was his goodie in core Crusaders of the Realms with me as Kalfear, and Drathsin was his assassin Drow, and I had Shadosin, which was my house wizard Drow. So we are going to do stories from Drathsin for the writings he did, and then after that we'll just, like I said, we'll get into Marvelin's. Marvelin's got the most writings out of anyone by a huge margin, which makes sense. So we'll get into that and everything. But for this episode and probably the next episode, we're going to do Drathsin stories. A Silent Vigil by Drathsin Dialanar. His silent footfalls could not be heard by any as Drathsin quickly moved through the house. He searched the shadows with his keen eyes, going from room to room. He had taken on many duties since the ceremony for which none knew. Since that night, he had been traveling the halls, making sure the house was safe and secure, for he knew that Mala Yahara was soon to give birth. He silently would check the house until he ended up at Marvelin's room, where he would settle in beside the door in the shadows and stand vigil. Drath wished to see this birth go well. He vowed already to guard the birthing, and that he would do so with his life. But he had a special interest also. He hoped that he would be bestowed the honor of guarding the first daughter. He hoped his wish would be answered as he sat quietly watching and listening. So silently his vigil continued as he waited for the birth. As he waited, he remembered. Finding Relevin by Drathsin. It had been a year since he had last seen his home and life in the dark city of Eredrin. He had set out with the others on patrol to the surface to gather information on a town. As they entered the first light of the surface world, they were set upon by hired mercenaries. Sorely outmatched, the Drow were destroyed save one. Drathsin had fallen in battle, suffering great injuries, and then left for dead. Consciousness returning briefly, Drath hid and nursed himself back to health. Ashamed for living, he would not return to Eredrin. Over the years since he left the massacre, he hunted down the mercenaries one by one, until only 5 were left. He strode into the camp as 5 men exchanged stories by the fire. The first of the men looked up and gestured to the others to look. They turned to face the stranger. The shadow of night hid his features as he pulled his hood down and spoke. "You 5 are the last of my shame. It is now time to finish what was started a year ago." The leader of the band pulled his sword and bellowed for his men to attack. The first man saw the stranger move his cloak to the side, but did not have time to register what was held. A crossbow bolt sprouted from his eye as he tumbled back. The next man took a second bolt to the groin and crumpled to the ground in a heap. The leader of the band pulled his sword and bellowed for his men to attack. The first man saw the stranger move his cloak to the side, but did not have... The stranger gently tossed the crossbow away as he unfastened the thong of his cloak and jumped back, drawing 2 black knives. His grin was wicked as he had watched the men uncertainly. The 2 looked to their leader for instruction. As the leader bellowed for them to attack, a knife appeared in the stomach of both. The stranger slowly straightened and smiled to the leader. The man turned and ran. He had just about made it to the trees when he went down. Struck from behind, he slowly tried to rise from the ground, wondering if the stranger had thrown a rock as he fell, twitching to the ground. The stranger walked over to his cloak and picked it up and patting it off the dirt had collected before refastening its thongs. He walked to the bodies and collected the 3 knives and cleaned them. He walked to the wounded one and looked down, asking the injured man for information about their newest assignment. Then, as the last mercenary begged for mercy, Drath split the man's throat with a smile. He wiped his last knife on the now dead man's cloak and smiled again. Yes, he had done well for himself, for he had heard the city of Rivelin a city of Drow. It had been a long time since he had been with his people, and now he had found them. So that was a short introduction to Drathsin, who would become the house assassin for Mavrilin's house. And yeah, good 2 short little stories. I'll have to read more because I didn't realize they were that short. So this is going to be a short video, but yeah, I'll have to read more of Drath's stories again and remind myself just so I can get it proper timing in on these videos. I usually like to go 12-13 minutes. So we're coming up a little bit short today, but yeah. So anyway, that was the first story by Drathsin, introducing you to his character and his first memory, which led him to Rivendell and led him to Mavrilin. If you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. It takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching this on Rumble, please follow my channel. Always feel free to leave a comment. Did you do any role-playing back in the day? If you did, please come in, comment. Tell me, what do you remember? Do you have any stories? If you do, send them my way. I have a fair amount of writings here from Mavrilin, but once they're done, I mean, if other people want to share their stories with me, I will definitely make videos of those as well. So yeah, come into the comments and let me know. Also, leaving a comment really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.